Thank you, Mr. President. I rise today to recognize the bipartisan accomplishment by the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee and the expanded support we are delivering for veterans living with illnesses as a result of toxic exposure due to their service in our nation's uniform through the Sergeant First Class Heath Robinson honoring our promise to address Comprehensive Toxic Act of 2022. This legislation ensures that veterans who need help now can get it. We are all too familiar with the challenges that exist for veterans as a result of toxic exposure. I've been working to improve veteran services and benefits for more than 20 years as a member of both the Senate and the House VA committees. During that time, I've heard a lot about toxic exposure issues and have come to understand the immediate need to make improvement to benefits and care for post-9/11 veterans who were exposed to toxic substances as a result of burn pits. This exposure is known to cause serious illness, including rare cancers and respiratory ailments. Those suffering deserve to know they have not been forgotten and their voices have been heard. The promise our nation made to the men and women who served in these dangerous conditions must be kept. This bill fulfills that promise and delivers immediate access to health care for toxic exposed veterans. It directs the VA to evaluate diseases for presumption of service connection and streamlines the process for toxic exposed veterans seeking disability compensation for their illnesses without overwhelming the VA system. The Sergeant First Class Health Heath Robinson PACT Act also invests in the tools and resources to help the VA process disability claims in a timely manner and deliver quality health care to veterans living with toxic exposure illnesses. With this measure, we continue to correct past failures of the VA to provide health care and benefits to previous generations exposed to Agent Orange as well. These challenges have existed for decades, and it's time we fulfill our promise to Vietnam-era veterans once and for all. The legislation we're poised to approve updates VA policies to provide veterans like Bill Rhodes of Mena, Arkansas, a Marine who served in Thailand during the Viet War era. Provide them access to the care that he and the others that served in that area deserve. Mr. Rhodes has been a relentless advocate of toxic exposure benefits. The VA accepts that herbicides were used along the perimeter of military bases in Thailand, but does not recognize the impact of the herbicides inside the perimeter. This current policy makes no sense and is not fair, preventing veterans like Mr. Rhodes from accessing benefits as a result of toxic exposure. After developing illnesses linked to herbicide exposure, Mr. Rhodes turned to the VA for help, but his claim was denied. I've been working with him for several years to advance a provision that corrects this mistake, and I'm pleased that this act eliminates the bureaucratic hurdles that have stood in the way of veterans getting the care they earned. This legislation is a result of bipartisan cooperation. We can achieve great things for our country when we put partisan politics aside. I appreciate the leadership of Chairman Tester and Ranking Member Moran to get this bill to the Senate floor. I'm proud to work with them to address these pressing needs that face our veterans and their families. I would also like to recognize and thank the countless veterans, the families and advocates and veteran service organizations who continued their persistence to ensure Congress fulfills its promise to the men and the women who served in our nation's uniform. This legislation is long overdue. We've heard the struggles of veterans and their families living with toxic exposure-related illnesses. We can end the hurdles they experience and save lives by passing this landmark legislation. I encourage my colleagues to join me in supporting it.